The movie begins in 2078, showing the planet Sirius 6b, which has turned into a barren wasteland after being colonized for mining. This is due to the decade-long war between a mining company called NEB, the New Economic Bloc, and the Rebel Alliance. Watching the thriving mine hub turn into an apocalyptic barren planet due to the release of toxic gas after mining, the miners went on strike. However, the NEB ignored the miners' strike and hired assassins as strikebreakers. Seeing this, many former mining personnel and scientists came together to form an alliance to prevent the NEB from destroying the planet. The war between the two groups has continued through the years, and despite everything, both armies are in a deadlock as both are poorly equipped and exhausted. As the movie goes on, we see Private Leon at a shabby Alliance compound, losing a game and his cigarettes to a colleague when he notices movement on the surface toward their bunker. Taking a closer look, Leon is confused when he sees an anxious NEB soldier nearby. Lieutenant Landowska wonders how the rival soldiers survived despite their security measures. As it turns out, 5 years into the war, the scientists of Alliance created AI Autonomous Mobile Swords, or AMS, that track and execute NEB soldiers. These self-replicating machines, also called screamers because of their deafening high-pitched noise, are designed to kill any object with a heartbeat. The Alliance soldiers disguise their heartbeats with bracelets that emit a frequency, making the soldiers invisible to the AMS. Back to the present, the poor soldier shoots arbitrarily as AMS advance toward him from beneath the ground. Just as he holds up his arm toward the bunker to show the Alliance something in his hand, one of the AMS chops his arm off, followed by other screamers that cut him into pieces. His brutal end makes Leon throw up, while Landowska wipes her tears. Just then, Lieutenant Commander Chuck reminds them that the only reason the Alliance has been standing its ground against the NEB is because of the screamers. Landowska mentions that the lone soldier was holding something out for them, so Chuck ventures out alone to figure it out, just in case it is a bomb. Suddenly, the screamers start pulling the sliced body parts under the ground, so Chuck has to shoot one of them to retrieve the object. He brings the cylinder to the commanding officer, Joe Hendrickson, who finds an invitation stating safe passage through NEB territory to negotiate peace. Hence, Joe discusses this with the hologram of Secretary Green, his boss residing on Earth. Due to the increasing radiation on Sirius 6, the hologram is distorting, but he says that the NEB has found another planet and discussions are in place on Earth for a peace treaty, which will enable both NEB and the Alliance to mine on the resource-rich turf. Stating this, Secretary Green asks him to disregard the truce offer brought on by the soldier. In the next scene, Alliance soldiers are seen lighting up special cigarettes to counter the effects of radiation on Sirius 6. While Joe and Chuck discuss if the generals on Earth would ever call for a ceasefire, suddenly the ground rumbles and a blaring alarm alerts everyone of an Alliance plane that crashes outside the bunker. The soldiers quickly find out that the plane is carrying a nuclear reactor. As they help Private Ace Jefferson, the sole survivor of the 38-person crew, screamers show up as Ace is not wearing a bracelet. Ace watches in horror as the screamers start taking away the fresh dead bodies, while the Alliance soldiers shoot many screamers to get Ace to safety. Once inside, Commander Joe analyzes one of the screamers, only to figure out that their program has been modified, with the CPU reading in a non-human language. Additionally, Ace tells them that Secretary Green died 2 years ago, and there are no peace treaties. Chuck does not believe Ace, but Joe has had a hunch all along that both armies have been abandoned on Sirius 6 by their respective superiors. Furious, he decides to take matters into his own hands and visit the NEB officials to work on a truce. Chuck wishes to accompany him, but Joe leaves him in charge of the bunker and heads out with Ace. As they make their way across the snow-covered ground, Joe tells Ace that the radiation eventually damages their bracelets. When a screamer comes their way, Ace shoots at it, but it dodges and attacks a rat instead and drags its body underneath the ground. Near a ruined refinery, Joe notices some movement and is surprised to find a little boy, David, holding a teddy bear. As it happens, the orphan kid lives on his own and usually spends the day hiding, especially when the screamers appear. Joe hands him a ration of food, promising to pick him up when they return. But Ace is unable to abandon a defenseless boy, hence they bring him along. When night falls, they set up a fire, and Ace boasts his rat cooking skills, while a rock bug freaks out Joe, which leaves David amused. Later, Ace casually removes his bracelet while resting, and shortly after, they are attacked by a reptile-like screamer, something Joe has never seen before, but he manages to save Ace. The next morning, as the trio crosses a frozen lake near the NEB compound, 2 enemy soldiers shoot David, who bursts apart, revealing bolts and gears and his true nature, an advanced screamer disguised as a human. Letting out a scream, David tries to destroy Ace's weapon, but he shoots David. The NEB soldiers, Becker and Ross, bring Joe and Ace inside their compound. briefing them that David was actually a Type 3 screamer, made to look like a human. The compound is empty because a similar David was rescued by one of their soldiers and brought to the base, who later executed all the soldiers except these two. Now they live here with a black marketeer called Jessica, who has given shelter to Becker and Ross. Joe tries to call and warn Chuck about this new kind of screamer, but Chuck loses the signal due to radiation. As the day goes on, tensions escalate among the men, with the NEB accusing the Alliance of unleashing the Screamers, only for Ace to counter that they were a retaliatory measure against the NEB's own bombings. Just then, Jessica walks in with a bottle of scotch, and once the men calm down, she asks Joe to take her back to Earth, in return for showing them the way to NEB's headquarters. While Becker and Ross bicker over Ross's meltdown, Ace finds a plutonium rocket and Alliance weapons in Jessica's collection, but Joe does not wish to further irradiate the planet. They all suit up and take an elevator underground that leads them to the headquarters. Once they enter, they find the entire command center empty, with puddles of blood everywhere. This freaks Ross out, who becomes hysterical. So Joe fires a round and orders him to get his act together. Joe realizes the truce message was all fake, so he tries to send a message to his base, but a reptile screamer with a saw blade walks in. It connects with the computer to download some information, but when it notices Ross move, Ace quickly uses his bracelet to disguise Ross's heartbeat, and the creature starts walking away. Relieved, Ace smacks Ross, which triggers the screamer, but Ross quickly shoots it down before it can attack Ace. The gunshot attracts more screamers, so Joe orders Ace to take everyone back to the NEB bunker, while he uses the computer to figure out the screamer's processor. As it turns out, the self-replicating screamers have evolved new versions, with the reptiles as Type 1 and cyborg Davids as Type 3, indistinguishable from humans and resistant to the Alliance bracelets. Just then, a Type 3 cyborg walks in and asks Joe to save him, before attacking Joe, who shoots it. As more Davids appear, Joe returns to the elevator and joins the rest of the team back at the bunker. When he asks what the Type 2 screamers are, Jessica reports that they show up as a wounded soldier asking for help. Becker believes that Ross is a screamer, so he kills him, but the dagger shows blood, proving Ross was a human. Jessica blames Becker for being a Type 2, and from here on, everyone is on edge, but they decide to return to the Alliance base. When they get there, Joe calls Chuck but notices something strange. Chuck keeps repeating the same words again and again, which is what screamers do, so Joe asks the group to stand back. When the door opens, Joe learns that his base has been taken over by an army of Type 3 cyborgs who slowly march out. When the group shoots them, they release saw blades, so Joe fires the micronuclear missile Ace brought along from Jessica's hideout, which destroys the Alliance base and knocks the group unconscious. The next morning, Ace hears a wounded Becker asking for help, but when he tries to help him, Becker crushes him and tosses his body aside, proving that he is indeed a Type 2 screamer. Joe shoots him, but only damages his face, and Becker boasts that he is more evolved than a Type 2, as he can think for himself. While he keeps blabbering, Joe loads a grenade and destroys Becker. Joe approaches the body and finds a triangular processor, unlike the original round Alliance processors. When Jessica expresses her wish to look at the processor, Joe swiftly cuts her hand to confirm if she is human, and is relieved to see her blood. When he tries to do the same to prove himself as a human, Jessica stops him, and they share a kiss. Next, they head to a place called Alamogordo, where they find an emergency escape shuttle in a hidden site, only accessible via an Alliance commander's biometric signature. Once inside, Joe accidentally initiates the countdown, but as he tries to climb down, a screamer wearing Chuck's skin shows up and tries to kill Joe. It says that Becker was also once an NEB commander, but the screamers used his skin to create a skin suit for themselves. When Joe notices that his dagger has no effect on the screamer, he touches a naked wire to the dagger, which electrocutes Chuck. As he falls, a laser beam annihilates him. When Joe reaches the shuttle, Jessica tells him that it is only intended for one person, so he must go, and they kiss again. Just then, another Jessica walks up, claiming that she and the other Jessica are both advanced screamers. As it happens, these models have so much free will that the first Jessica has fallen in love with Joe, despite being programmed to kill every other life form. Since the second Jessica wants the pod to herself, she fights and kills the first Jessica, who shields Joe. Just before the second Jessica can scream to kill Joe, the shuttle's burning exhaust destroys her. In the end, Joe gets in the pod at the last minute, and as he departs from Sirius 6, he finally removes his bracelet, bringing along David's little teddy bear with him, which moves slowly, implying that it is a screamer too. With that, the movie ends. Thanks for watching Screamers. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you next time.
Welcome, sci-fi fans. Futurist Flicks is thrilled to launch our exclusive membership program designed for loyal fans like you. By joining, you'll unlock early access to recap videos, unseen recap videos, raffle prizes, free merch giveaways, exclusive content and behind-the-scenes insights, access to community events, live streams, and Q&A sessions. Join the Cosmic Crew today and get instant access to exclusive perks. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more intergalactic adventures.